You know, our big thing with Musicbed is really being the source of discovery of finding the, you know, that next big artist. There's been a lot of those stories where an artist that we've discovered, you know, ends up going on to be doing amazing things.
That's cool.
From the beginning, we've been very artist friendly. For every dollar that we make, we give more money to the musician than we keep ourselves by a long shot.
Welcome to Cinema 5D on the Go. Moving conversations about moving images with filmmakers and industry leaders. Brought to you by Tilta, Blackmagic Design, Kessler Crane, and Fujinon, in association with Sony. This is your host, Nino Leitner.
Welcome to this episode of Cinema 5D on the Go. Today we have Daniel McCarthy, CEO of Musicbed and Film Supply with us.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Well, as we together get stuck in Vegas traffic, let's talk about what you guys been up to. I mean, let's take a step back, I think. I mean, Musicbed has been around for how long now?
About 6 years. We started in 2012.
Cool. And I think I remember when you guys came out, it was just like a relief because finally there was a site that had actually quality music for, you know, affordable prices to license for filmmakers, whereas before, yeah, you know it better than me, you had to work with all these terrible existing websites that, what is
I better
that?
put my seatbelt on.
Yeah, that is it. No, these existing websites that literally, yeah, had really cheap music there, and any good like indie band stuff was kind of unattainable. I mean, there was no like website that represented that. So how did it all get started, and how did you end up being the boss of it? Or
yeah, I was working at a creative agency for a while. I was the creative director of an advertising agency in town in Texas, and when I left that to start our own agency, we were doing a lot of nonprofit work. I was actually just starting as a filmmaker. I was shooting weddings, I was shooting nonprofit films. It was right about the time that the Mark II had come out and was breaking, and we started to get better projects, bigger projects, and we were working. At the time, there was a couple of different solutions for production music that we were working with, and really, I didn't feel like any of them were the quality that we wanted to be making. And I actually went to school for music business, and I had some friends in Nashville and some band managers, and the idea really was just, for the amount of money that we were spending in some of this production music, I felt like we could instead be supporting indie musicians that had a great catalog of music. And so one of the very first projects we did was actually with one of our great artists now, Jordan Kreitz, was back before Musicbed existed. We just did some deals with him where we used some instrumental tracks. And the idea kind of just took off. I mean, when we started, we were actually kind of third-party deals with a bunch of big publishers and record labels and licensing companies, and then through the last 6 years we've become more full service, and we actually, you know, our roster is an exclusive roster, and yeah, it's been a crazy 6 years. Yeah, and I think a lot has happened in your field as well, right? I mean, there are other sites. I mean, there have been other sites before, but there is even more now. I just know also in terms of, you know, I try to sell some of my stock footage, and it's just, in this field, it has gone crazy as well, where it's getting harder and harder also for people to decide where to sell. Yeah. But I don't know, in the music field, I don't feel like there is a lot of competition for you guys in terms of quality, except for, of course, the super high-end stuff, libraries where you would pay a lot more money, like, you know, Universal Music or something. Yeah, there's competitors in both. So we started Film Supply about 2 years ago, which is stock footage, and we really, you know, on the Film Supply side, we really pride ourselves in having. We kind of pride ourselves in signing filmmakers that would never consider selling stock before. You know, a lot of the guys that we're signing and girls that we're signing are filmmakers that have been approached by, you know, other competing sites, but they've never entertained selling stock footage because the brand that was approaching them wasn't necessarily positioned where they wanted to be positioned from a quality perspective. So most of the Film Supply catalog is really filmmakers that just either frowned upon selling stock footage before or never even considered it an option because the brand didn't exist. I think on the Musicbed side, you know, there's other music brands out there. You know, some are subscription based, some are production music libraries. You know, our big thing with Musicbed is really being the source of discovery of finding the, you know, that next big artist. A lot of our artists go on to be major recording artists with huge contracts with labels, and so I think the idea that you can use a song from an artist that's about to break or will break in a couple of years and be one of the first people, you know, like back in the day we signed Imagine Dragons 6 or 7 months before they broke. I mean, there's been a lot of those stories where an artist that we've discovered, you know, ends up going on to be doing amazing things.
That's cool.
Some of them now, like when Imagine Dragons was doing that, I mean, that was 6 years ago before we really had any sort of presence in the industry, so we weren't able to keep them. The cool thing now is that we're a much bigger brand, and so we have the opportunity that when a label comes and wants to take them to the next level, we actually get the opportunity to maintain the relationship. But you know, there is, you know, I don't think anybody really directly competes with Musicbed. I think there's some different services that are beginning to pop up that, you know, from the beginning we've been very artist friendly. For every dollar that we make, we give more money to the musician than we keep ourselves by a long shot.
Okay.
And,
how does that work? I mean, how can you make it work financially? I know that's a broad question.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be the best. You have to be the leader. You know, like we have a really great audience. We have. I mean, we the only reason we exist is because we have thousands of filmmakers that are really loyal to our brand, and we're super thankful for it. I think, you know, some of the danger in some of the subscription models and stuff that are popping up aren't necessarily the price point. It's really. It's really the relationship they have with the artist that a lot of our competitors are using 80-20 splits, 70-30 splits in favor of the band or the brand, excuse me. And so, you know, for a $100 license or something, they're keeping $70 and giving $30 to the musician. Versus we're the opposite. And so I think it's, you know, it just becomes and the subscription models, while they're like they look enticing, but if you're paying a couple $100 and you're using 50 songs, you know, it's very easy where all of a sudden maybe a musician gets paid $1 for the use of the song. And I think, you know, for us it's different than, like, you can make kind of the Spotify argument, like what Spotify did to music. From our perspective, it's a different, I mean, I love Spotify with the rest of them, but that's a consumer model. You know, we're talking about listening to music while you're working out, while you're hanging out with friends in your car. On our side of things, we're talking about making a commercial product of some sort. And, you know, for me, if, like, the people that we license to and the people whose content we license, they're all artists. And we're just under the belief that artists should value each other's work.
Absolutely.
You know, because on the flip side, like, filmmakers are the people that are licensing our music. So my point with them, we also own Film Supply, which licenses stock footage. So at one level, as a filmmaker, I want an expensive, you know, I want the best product I can for the least amount of money. On the flip side, I would say no filmmaker would sign with Film Supply if we told them we're going to be a subscription model. You know, and if Nike wants to use your clip in their broadcast commercial, we're going to charge you we're going to pay you 80 cents. You know what I mean? Because
no, you're totally right.
You know, I've spent 20 years perfecting my craft. And you know, so
on the other hand, I love that you guys are also flexible with your licensing model. I remember times where for my own company, my production company, I have licensed stuff from Musicbed where the client was a big company. But the use for that video was, you know, they used it in like internal whatever presentation type of thing. But, you know, like the standard contract stuff would say, well, if the company has like more than, I don't know, 50 employees, it's like X amount, because I totally understand you guys have to come up with ways to differentiate on how to license. But then I was able to talk to you guys, you know, somebody who works for Musicbed, just make like, well, you know, I really want to use this track, and I have only this, but I mean, I can't spend this amount of money because this video will only be used for 2 months, within these presentations that these guys do, and then they guarantee that it will not be used, and if it will be used on, we have to sign a new license.
Yeah.
And then you guys were flexible enough to adjust that and tell me, well, then it's not 2,000, whatever, you know, it's like 500, and I could work with that. And that's really, really great, because I think actually having a person to talk to about these things is really important. It's not like a one-size-fit-all thing, because that's not how this business works, really.
Well, and the content is changing dramatically. I mean, we have a really, really good team that's super flexible with that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of big brands, it's really deceiving. I mean, we just had a conversation with one of the guys that was a marketing director over at Old Spice, and he was talking to us about, I mean, you can look at a really big brand, and that big brand may be doing Super Bowl ads, but they also have an internal team that has no budget.
Yeah, and often I work for such internal teams,
I mean,
right?
So just because it's Coca-Cola or it's Google or some, you know, a lot of times we got a lot of times they don't have the budget, you know, and they only have $500 for a song, or they, you know, so
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, our team, I think that's one of the things that we've done really well. We have a great account executive team that's typically we can turn something around in a few hours.
Yeah.
They're really quick. They're pretty flexible. I mean, at the end of the day, too, for us, we're in it for the long haul. We want to build good relationships with filmmakers, and so if that means we work within a budget on a couple of different spots, I would much rather do that than try to squeeze out some sort of dollar amount for a project and then lose a customer.